Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're delighted to introduce you to a wonderful writer and poet. His name is Anthony Toomer, and he has written a terrific book, an inspirational book, an inspired book as well. It is called A Poetic Spanking, and it is a faith-filled book that will renew your spiritual journey, that will help you on your path, and will fill you with words of wisdom that might just be your daily devotional. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his inspirational work. The links are below this interview. Anthony, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
All right. Thank you for having me. Great to see you too.
Wonderful having you on the show. The name of your book is such an attention getter, A Poetic Spanking. Tell us why you called the book that.
Well, I call it Poetic Spanking for that exact reason, to get people interested and wondering, what does that entail?
And what does
Okay.
it entail?
Well, it's actually 3 books in one,
Mm-hmm.
because I wrote on 3 different topics. It's the first book is about God, because if you believe in God, God is supposed to be first in your life. The second book is concerning romance and relationships. And the third book is about social issues in America.
And it's all done in the form of poetry.
Yes, it's all poetry. Each poem basically tells its own story. Some of them are short, some of them are long. But the idea that it gives you for God is what God wants for us, and what we should be doing to be, as we say, pleasing in His eyes. Now, the second book, I go there to, there's a lot of divorces and relationships going wrong for some reason. So these poems are poems that women love poetry. So you could read these poems and get an idea of what women like, and you could take them as your own.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
in
And the
the
perfect time
third
of
book,
year for it. Valentine's Day is next week, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
And the third book basically talks about the social conditions that Black people have in America. I don't want to call it Black Lives Matter, but it's a touchstone for some of those same issues.
Yeah. What do you view as the challenges for Black Americans in 2024?
Uh, the challenges we face is, I look at it politically. We have an election coming up, and Black people usually go Democratic. And now I notice there's a lot of people leaning towards the Republican Party.
So you're saying right now it appears more and more Black Americans are leaning towards the Republican Party. Tell us about your thoughts there.
Well, I see a lot of people, they're trying to say that Joe Biden hasn't done anything for us. But he's doing things to keep the country moving in a positive direction. And I think that Black people shouldn't be disheartened by what he's doing, because maybe they don't see how would I say, like food is too high.
Right.
Rents in New York, rents are ridiculous. And so they're not seeing what he's trying to do to alleviate situations like that. But what they don't seem to understand, in my opinion, is if Republicans get in, they're not going to do anything different or better for Black people. than the Democrats are doing.
Yeah.
And I
So
think that's a mistake for them to lean the other way.
absolutely. And so that's one of the issues you feel that African Americans and Black Americans are dealing with in 2024. Let's talk a little bit about the first part of your book, about the religious aspect, about Jesus. What message do you hope that readers take away from there?
Okay, well, Jesus, as people know, is God's son. God is the creator. And we need to do certain things to be pleasing in his eye. And the reason for that is a lot of people don't realize that we are living now, and this is a temporary situation. The same as the bodies that we have is
Mm,
temporary. When you die, it goes back to ashes and ashes, dust to dust, back to the earth. And the same thing here. So I try to use an analogy of taking a flight from a connecting flight, let's say from east to west. The first flight that you get on is your life,
mm,
okay? And then we die. So that's the layover of the first flight. The second flight is the flight that's piloted by Jesus. Now, the Bible tells you that Jesus is coming back and that we shall all meet in the air. I don't know if you know. Um, and the Bible is called the basic instructions before leaving Earth.
mm,
So what happens, like on a flight, they have manifests. Well, God has two books, a book of life
mm.
and a book of death. Now, if you're not on that manifest, you can't get on the plane.
Yeah.
If your name is not in that book of life, when that plane takes off, you won't be on it.
Mm.
And that flight is going up to be with God. And I don't think I have to tell you where the other people are going. They're not
They're
going
not
up.
going up like this.
No.
They're going in a different direction, more like this, where it's a little, they're going to a warmer climate, let's just say.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, as
Sounds
somebody
good.
said, they'll be looking up.
Exactly. It'll be looking
So,
up for a while. Let's
yes,
talk a
they
little
will.
bit about the romantic aspect of your book, which is the second part of your book. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, to tell you the truth, um, most of those poems that I wrote were poems that I wrote to my wife
Mm,
before we got married, after we met. Now, I'm a romantic at heart. I believe in flowers, cards, gifts, and writing poetry.
mm.
So I wooed her by doing just that.
Yeah.
In fact, one day when she was coming home from work, I was on vacation, and I met her at the door with a bouquet of flowers and just a necktie on. And
That's
to
funny.
me, that was being romantic. It was, bringing sparks and trying something different.
Right.
And I think people have to look at romance in a different light. You have a lot of music out there today that's, they call women different names
Yeah,
that, we don't agree with. And I think we need to go back to the way it was when our parents were
exactly.
coming up. You courted a girl, you had to meet the parents, and you still have to do that today,
Yeah.
but it was a different lifestyle back then.
Yeah. Well, it was a different lifestyle that we didn't each have our own phone. You can call that
Right,
person directly now. We used to call up and say, "Hi, Mrs. Toomer. Is Sally Toomer there? This is Logan. I'd like to talk to." It was formal. You
correct.
met the parents. You showed respect to the parents. You showed respect to the girl. Like you said, there was a courtship. I think that we really do need to turn the page there and get back to that time of romance again. Wonderful music, music that, like Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons and that kind of thing, where, you know,
Right.
that talked about heartache, that talked about love, the Spinners. The music we hear today, it's enjoyable, but a lot of it is about dysfunction. And I guess it's a mirror
Yes, it
to
is.
society, but hopefully before long, we're reflecting a better society, don't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think today's people, the youth in particular, they feel like someone owes them something.
Yeah.
No one owes them anything. You have to go out there and earn everything you have the same way we did.
Yeah.
You know, you go to
Exactly.
school, and school is not for everyone. I'm talking about college,
Mhm.
or you get some kind of skill so you can move through life in a comfortable situation.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, today you need two people working in the home.
I know. I know. I know. As soon as the women started working more, everything doubled in price. I mean, everything's factored into how much you can afford to pay, right?
Yes,
So, I mean, that's the problem even with student loans. They give you the money, they let you borrow the money so you can pay the university, but the university wouldn't be charging you 30, 40, $50,000 a year if you weren't able to borrow that money. They'd make you pay what you could afford. So there's a lot of
right.
problems out there that need to get solved. I think your book definitely points to three areas of concern that and focus that'll make for better lives, which is religion, God, Jesus, and spirituality, romance and love, and of course, focusing on what's happening right now, current events. Very, very
Yeah.
powerful. Let me ask you this, since you're a romantic, as a last question, what are you doing for your wife on Valentine's Day?
Oh, well, I'm going to do what I usually do because, we've gotten older.
Yeah,
So she doesn't want to go out like we used to.
yeah.
So now we just stay home, reminisce, maybe get together with another a couple,
Hmm.
and have a nice meal, maybe get in a movie,
Sounds great. Sounds like a wonderful
and I
time.
I
Spending
will
time.
definitely be getting her flowers
Yeah.
and candy that I'm going to end up eating and a
Exactly,
card.
exactly. Sounds, yeah, exactly. I buy the chocolates and I wind up picking at half of them and eating the other half. That's what I do. I want the ones with the fruit filling always. So I pick at them a
Yes,
little bit.
yes.
Well, Valentine's Day is coming, as we mentioned, and Anthony has written a whole section of this book on love and romance. Anthony, could you read a section of that book for us?
Yes.
Thank you.
This one is about love. Love doesn't need an introduction, it speaks for itself. It is a truly magnificent and life altering entity. It can make you stubborn as a mule or make you change your mind in a second. It can make you strong as black coffee or weak as tea with milk. It will change your perspective on people, places, and things. Love can move mountains, and it definitely will move you. I believe this poetry will do the same. Love is like a shining star in the night sky. It always lets you know when it's there. It brings warmth and peace of mind. Love is a wow moment when it hits you. It will bring an unknowing smile to your face. It makes life feel much better. What a wonderful thing. But be careful with love. It can overwhelm you too. But that's a story for another day.
Wonderful.
Smooches.
Love it. Love it. It's a great, great selection you read for us, and very, very true. Love can be as strong as black coffee or as weak as tea with milk and have that
Yes.
impact on us as well. Anthony, thanks again.
All right. Thank you again.
All
Yes.
right.
Well,
Well, Anthony, great speaking with you. The name of the book is A Poetic Spanking. It is a wonderful book. It's actually three books in one, as we mentioned. It talks about God and religion, it talks about romance and love, and it talks about current events, particularly how they affect people of color in the year 2024. Anthony, thank you so much
yes.
for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Okay, and thank you for having me. And I'd like to add that the book has won 5 awards.
Yes,
So,
I'm glad you brought that up. It has been highly regarded, highly recognized, and has already picked up 5 awards, which is not easy to do in this literary world where there are literally millions and millions of authors. Anthony Toomer has distinguished himself with this book. It is called A Poetic Spanking, and you will just love it. Like I said, in many ways, it could be for you a daily devotional. And like I said before, Valentine's Day is coming up. There's a whole section in there on romance. And Anthony says, go ahead, borrow the poems, say they're your own. He doesn't mind, right?
yes, yes, no problem. In
No
fact,
problem.
I would love for you to do that.
That sounds great. Anthony, thanks again for being our guest.
All right, thank you again for having me.
My pleasure. And
And
to the
enjoy
folks at
your
home, I'm Logan.
Valentine's Day.
Thank you, sir. Same to you. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.